and we're going to read Romans 8:28. What this is referring to here is uh, the life that we have here on earth, our uh, physical life, our experiences here in the world as we're living here. So we saw spiritually that we're saved from sin, made the righteousness of God. So practically, we're going to see something, and this is Romans chapter 8, verse 28. This says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." So, wow, this is saying what all things work together for good uh, to them that love God, to us. So, something to note here, because it says all. Now, does this mean, because we kind of have to stop here and ask a question here, because there are two main Greek words in the Bible that are translated all, and one of them means all. It means all without exception. Like we saw in previous week's study, God heals us from all our diseases. So that is all without exception. There's also another word, all, that means all things within a certain category, or all with distinction. So we have two ways the Bible can say all. It can say, when you read all, everything, all things without exception, or it could mean all of these things with or within a certain category, all with distinction. And it's going to depend on what Greek word it is, and largely on the context. So, which all is it? Because a lot of people teach that all things out there, good and bad, both contribute into one big swirl of things, and that's a big, just huge part of God's plan, and that it all contributes to, it all works together for good, right? Is that true? Well, I can tell you here, the Greek word for all is all within a certain category. So it's not all with all without exception. It's all with a certain distinction. And so we can know that also from the Greek word all here in the verse, but from the context. So let's back up a couple verses and read, or just kind of glance here at a couple phrases, or one phrase in verse 26. It says, in the latter part of that verse, "The Spirit itself maketh intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered." And then we have verse 27, "And he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is the mind of the Spirit." So, as we read the context here, we're getting that the category here is the things of the Spirit of God. That's the context of Romans 8:28. We saw this in verses 26 and 27. It's in other places here. And so when we read this now and understand that the word "and" here is not all without, or excuse me, the word "all" here is not all without exception, but it's all with distinction of a certain category. And so what's the category? It's the good things of the Spirit of God. So let's read that again with that understanding. Romans 8:28. "And we know that all things work together." We know that all these things, good things of the Spirit of God, work together for good to them that love God. So they work together for what? For good. Like we saw at the beginning of the teaching, God is good. So pleasantly good and favorable and commendable. So does God take all that good, but all the bad too, and mix it in all together, so that what here works together for good to them that love God, so that we who love God have good? No, it's just the bad is not included. It's just the good. As we saw, the word "all" means all within that certain category. So when we read the context here, the verse makes sense. This way, we are not attributing evil or bad things that happen out there, or the wickedness, something that takes place in your life that's not favorable and it's not commendable, it's not good, we're not contributing that to God. Remember at the beginning of the teaching we read the Hebrew word good and we saw what that means. So this is keeping God all good. And remember 1 John 1:5, no darkness at all. There cannot be any darkness at all if the word is true. No darkness at all in God, that is. So we saw it's the good things that work together for good. Let's go ahead and turn to James. This is James chapter 1. So we're in Romans. We'll go toward the end of the Bible here. 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James. All right. And what a lot of people teach, though, and this is, and I understand this is taught a lot among churches, Christian groups. So they say that, yeah, God is good. He's all good, but sometimes he sends us challenges like trials. God tests us. You'll hear people say that, and we want to see now if that's true, because we just read in Romans that the all things that work together are only the all things within the category of the good things of the Spirit of God. So here in James chapter 1 verse 12, let's go ahead and read the word, see what it says here. It says, blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. So it says when he is tried, and then he shall receive the crown of life. So it's sounding like here that the trials lead to a good thing, to God rewarding us, doesn't it?